All right. And good morning and welcome. Welcome, everyone. And welcome to our live this morning. And this is really like this is not like a fake live, but this is a real live. I'm actually this is actually Sunday, February, February the 23rd, maybe. Yeah, I think so. This is an actual live. This is an actual, yes, it's the 23rd of February, and I'm actually live this morning right here in the studio. Hello, my name is Oliver Blue, and I am your host and guide and temporary teacher for the next hour. If you are familiar with me, then you know, this is how I do it. But if you are unfamiliar with my platform and my content, um, I'm basically here periodically where I share what I call advanced spirituality. I consider myself a spiritual junkie. Spirituality is what turned my life upside down and turned my life around for the good many years ago. And I just have a passion. A passion was birthed out of that experience over the years as I've been on this journey for, um, I'd say at least 38 years. Yes, where I now love, like Jesus said, love your neighbor as yourself. Well, you can't love your neighbor if you don't love yourself. And for many years, I didn't love myself. In fact, I didn't even know myself, right? And so, uh, how can you love? How can you give that which you don't possess or you don't know you possess it? And went many years into my young adult life that I was racked with fear and doubt and uncertainty, and I was a wreck internally. Externally, my life looked good. You know, I had the good career. I had the good wife. I had the son. I had the car. I had the friends. You know, I had the bank account. And I had so many things externally that was going well for me from an external standpoint. But internally, I was a fearful wreck. And I don't know if you've ever been in that place before, but that is not a place that you want to get in. You don't want to stay in it for sure. It's not a good feeling. And I'm so glad that I opened myself up to discover that which was beneath the eye, discover that which was in the realm of the unseen, right? Because let's face it, everything we see doesn't come from what we see, but everything that we see come from a dimension of life that is what is called the unseen. In fact, in the New Testament, Peter says that, you know, we would be better off. Check this out. Check out what Peter said over in First Peter or Second Peter. He said we would be, or it might have been James that said this. They said, but that we would be better off or better served if we look not at the things that are seen, the things that are made. It would better serve us if we look not at the things that are seen, but that we would be better served if we looked at the things that are not seen. And then he went on to say, because the things that are seen are temporary. They're temporal, meaning that they're subject to change. They flux and they flow. They come and they go. They have no stability. They have no certainty. and they really have no lasting truth. And so he said, we're better served when we become more acquainted with that which we can't see. Ooh, now that will require us to develop uh, a part of us, right, that most of us not even aware of. But he said that we're to look at the things that are seen or not seen. We're better served when we become more intimately acquainted with the things that are not seen, because they are eternal. Ooh. Because they are infinite. Because they are principles. Because they are the laws that govern the universe. He said, it is more beneficial that we become intimately acquainted with that which we cannot see. And so, my life, and hopefully your life, has opened itself up to the unseen, because it is in that realm that is the source of everything that is in the realm of the seen, right? And it's just that, we come here as these perfect creations of love, perfect creations of God. And we come here as these innocent beings, right? And then we get introduced to this world that has been made not from a place of reality, but from a place of not knowing. And we get conditioned to only develop our 5 physical senses so that we can relate to the physical, and not even aware of the true essence and the true nature, the spiritual nature that we all are, which is what we are in truth. I've said it here many times, and I'll continue to say it, that humanity, we are the highest creation of God. We're the highest creation of love. And do you know that we're the most uncomfortable in our own habitat? Humanity. I mean, you look around at all the other facets of life. You look at the animal kingdom, or you look at the vegetation kingdom. You look at the galaxies. You look at the heavens. You look at the ocean. You look anywhere around in our in nature at the other parts of our ecosystem. And you see that all of these other facets are very comfortable in their habitat. They're very comfortable in themselves. They're very comfortable with life. There's no anxiety. There's no fear. There's no thought or doubt of what you're going to eat, what you're going to drink, what you're going to wear. There's no worry about, retirement, or there's no worry about their offsprings. You look at the animals. Let's just look around you in nature. You see the trees and the grass and the fields and the meadows. There doesn't seem to be any chaos or division or separation or strife. You look up in the heavens, and you see the moon and the stars and the sun and the sky and the clouds and the rain and all that happens in that stratosphere. And there appear to be complete harmony at all times, complete stability, complete trust, complete certainty. But when it comes to us, when it comes to humanity, oh my God, we're the most uncomfortable species in all the planet, on the entire planet. We're not comfortable in our habitat. We're not. A lot of us are not comfortable in our own skin. We are, we are the most sick-ridden species in all of creation. However, We are God's highest creation. There's something wrong with that picture. There's something wrong with that picture when we are not. We're God's highest creation. We're love's highest creation. In fact, all of the great spiritual books and traditions say that we are what God is, and God is what we are. If you really get down to what it's saying. But how can that be and result in most of humanity? We're so uncomfortable with ourselves. We're so uncomfortable with each other. Consequently, we see all of the unloveliness that has been on display throughout entire history. You see humanity at war with one another, and that has basically has matriculated into this present day. And in this present day, it is in such a way that it is magnified hundreds and thousands and millions of times over because of technology and communication. So what are we going to do about it? And that's one of the motivations that I have for creating, this platform, for creating and giving my time and my resources and energy into being a temporary guide and a temporary teacher to help elevate humanity out of its place of sin consciousness, guilt, and fear, so that we can ultimately, put on display, prove what is that good and acceptable, and what is that perfect will of love, right? And we can learn so much from nature. We can learn so much about peace from nature. We can learn so much about harmony from just studying nature. There's being the highest creation of God comes with a responsibility, because all of creation, we've been given, if you have read the creation story, and in that story, once we were placed here, we were given the purpose of to be the caretakers over all creation, right? It says over in Genesis that we are to subdue the earth, to multiply. Without me going over there, if you are any Bible scholar at linear level, you know what it says in terms of us being to be fruitful and to multiply and to replenish and to be a caretaker of the planet. And then Paul picks it up over there in Romans when he says that the earth is travailing, the earth is in pain, the earth and all of nature is complex because of what humanity is doing to abdicate its responsibility to be the God of this world, to be the God over this earth. And because we're out of sort, because we are out of harmony with who we are, and not knowing who we are and not understanding our purpose, it says all the earth has gone out of sort. All of the other parts of nature is out of balance at times because of our abdication of our responsibility by not knowing who we are. And I think that scripture in Romans says that the earth groaneth and travaileth for the manifestations of the sons and daughters of God. That, in other words, the earth is ready to be released from its pain. All of the created world is ready to be freed from the abuse and the anguish that it endures because of us being out of our position and not being good stewards of what we've been given. So how do we correct that? Right. So we've been doing a series here over the last 4 lives that is entitled, You Are the Perfect Creation of Love. Yes. You are, I am all humanity are the perfect creation of love, or the perfect creation of God. And there's a lot in that statement. But don't run away, right? Don't run away. There's a simple explanation to that reality, because that is, to me, that is at the root of all humanity's problem. Right? That is the root cause of all of the instability, the fear, and the uncertainty that we see in our present day world. And the root cause is the root of it is that we don't that we don't know that we are God's perfect creation, and that we're all one. But the root cause is that we don't know, right? You know, the great ancient poet scribed in many places the great quote, or the great saying that says, to know thyself. To know thyself. And when we understand this, that it is the knowing of the self, of our true self, it is the knowing of ourselves is what causes us to then to become the very reflection of the self that we all share, that the love that we all share. And it is through the knowing of the self that we embrace, fully embrace the love that is in all of us. We fully embrace the fact that out of the one source, out of the one life, out of the one God, out of the one love, that we all were brought forth. Not as these separate individual selves, but we were brought forth to be like a reflection of the one being, the one life, the one love, the one source that is responsible for everything. And because we don't know that, and when we don't know that, then we see ourselves as these individual selves, divided selves, separated selves. And then we build a whole thought system and a whole world around separation, division. And in that thought system, there is no basis for equality. There's no basis for unity. There's no basis for oneness. And thus you see the divided world. Thus you see 7 continents. Thus you see hundreds of countries. Thus you see, we only see through the purview of the different races of people. Thus we begin to look through the lens of not only race, but begin to look through the lens of our allegiance to a particular country. Or then we begin to look through the lens of male and female. Then we go even further to more divide and subdivide ourselves into these little pockets and these little groups, right? You know, and we find this in every arena of life, from business to government to families, to entertainment, and in the sporting community. Every realm of life has become so divided and subdivided that what we are experiencing in this present day and what we have experienced throughout history is that man has lost his way. He doesn't know who he is. He has decided that there is another way that he can make life happen and find peace and create something better than the idea of unity and oneness through separation, division. But we see that hadn't worked. It has never worked from day one. It has never worked. Why? Because when we don't know who we are, or when we don't know the purpose of a thing, ultimately we will abuse the thing. When you don't know the purpose of a piano, you might take the piano and try to go fishing with it. It won't work. When we don't know the purpose of a refrigerator, then we may try to use it as a sailboat. It won't work. When we don't understand the purpose of anything, then ultimately the law says we will abuse it or misuse it, use it against the very nature that has been given to us to be a blessing. So when we don't know the purpose of humanity, when we don't know who we are, when we don't know thyself, then the greatest abuse will occur. And we've seen it historically. And here we stand on this 23rd day of February 2025, and we look around and we see the vibration of fear, chaos, instability, fear, uncertainty that is running rampant through the hearts and mind of humanity all over the world. So this series that I've been doing on You Are the Perfect Creation of Love is me making an attempt to point humanity to where the real problem and what the real answer is. Technology will never solve our problems. No matter how sophisticated we become and all the sophistication that we can develop, those things will never solve the human problem. The only solution to the human problem is to know thyself, to know who you are as the perfect creation of love, as God's highest creation. And like we like to say here on our platform, the real you. The real you that loves you. Because how can we follow the one command that Jesus gave us, which is to love God and to love our neighbor as ourselves, when we don't know who ourselves is, or when we don't even love ourselves? How can you? So to me, the first order of business is to know thyself. It's to stop everything that we're doing. To stop everything that we are doing. And make the first order of business is to come for humanity, to come to know who they are as God's perfect creation. As like Jesus says, ye are gods. In one of his scriptures, he said, ye are gods. Have you not read? Have you not read that ye are gods? As he said that to the people of his day, especially the religious people of his day. And you always, and this is one thing I notice about history. It is always the religious right. It has always been the religious point of view that has been at the helms of all this pain and suffering in society. And when the religious view or point of view is based on separation and division and sin consciousness and guilt and fear, it has led to some of the most unbelievable atrocities in the world. All of them are motivated by some religious idea that has its roots in the belief in separation, sin consciousness, guilt, and fear. Some ideology that includes that humanity is not one, that there is no equality, there is no diversity, there is no inclusion. But no, we're different, we're separate. There is superiority is real. There's this idea of superiority, and also which leads to an idea of inferiority. So we have promoted to ourselves as a collective body that we're not one. we have promoted, the religious community have promoted that we're not one, but there's this specialness, there's this special people, there's this special land, there's this special that love has this idea of special. Well, there's no specialness in love. Pure love has no specialness. There is nothing special about any of us in light of any of the physical attributes. There's nothing special about us by way of our origin. There's nothing special about any of us from love's perspective by way of any of the labels and the categories that we have made to be a substitute for the reality that all of us are the creation of love. All of us. No one has any more statue than anyone else, but we have perpetrated that idea. We have sought to undo the truth that is true always, and we have gotten ourselves in a pickle. I know I get a little animated when I talk like this. Listen. I've been doing this for, I don't know what. I've been doing these live, I don't know, 4 years maybe. And one thing you notice, and probably have noticed if you've been following me, that I don't get much into specifics. I don't get much into specifics. I don't address, a lot of time, I don't address current events. My mission, right, is to render into God what is God's. Render to love what's love, is to express love and to share love, and to share the principles, the universal principles that are a reflection of the changeless reality that we all are part of. I'm all about sharing the love. But today I'm gonna, just for a little bit, appease some of my listeners who are always prodding me to say, Oliver, your messages are great, your ideas, the things that you say really bless me and cause me to see things differently. And however, what about what's going on? What about, how can I take this and navigate my life in such a way, right, that I make my world better, and I make the world around me better, right? And so today I'm gonna appease some of my listeners just a little bit, right? Because again, I stay in my lane, and my lane is speaking the truth in love, not necessarily into specifics, but I speak the principle of the truth in love. But today I'm gonna dabble a little bit, just a little. But before I do that, like I said earlier, the goal of any teacher, regardless of who the teacher is, the goal of any curriculum, any theology, the goal should be of the curriculum, and the goal of the teacher is to help those in the classroom that he has created, because this is kind of like a classroom. And the goal should always be to help us to know ourselves, to help us to come to a place of awakening, to come to a place of enlightenment, to where, like I started this conversation off talking about, it is in our best interest to look at the things that are not seen versus the things that are seen, because the things that are seen, they're temporal, they're subject to change. You wake up tomorrow, you go to bed, and you wake up tomorrow, things have changed, and you've made a decision based on something that is temporal. Then your decision don't look so good tomorrow because things have changed. How many of you have ever experienced that? But we're better benefited when we look at the things that are not seen. When we talk about things that are not seen, we're talking about things that are eternal, things that are infinite, things that are changeless and timeless and formless, which is really what is determining the outcomes and the results and the experience that we have in our journey in life. And so to know ourselves, and I'm not talking about this self that was born out of your mother's womb. That's not the real you. that is the vehicle by which you are licensed to be here, so that you can express the nature that you are. But I'm talking about that you that has always been, like in Jeremiah, God said to Jeremiah that he knew Jeremiah before he was formed in his mother's womb. In other words, Jeremiah existed before there was a physical birth. Likewise, you existed before you was born with a physical birth. Before you was formed in your mother's womb, you existed. All of us existed. So having this human experience is no more than us taking on this vehicle called flesh and blood and body mind, right? To have an experience with form, with the physical. But that's not who we are. That government name that you was given, and that government number that you were given, right? Those parents that you came here through, that family that you was born into, the community that you was born into, your gender, your race, right? Your choices, your decisions, what you attached yourself to during the process of growing up, what you learned from the environment around you, who you listened to, how you were nurtured, all of that. None of that changed who you really are. None of that changed who we are. We remain as we were created by love. We remain as we were created by God. We always do. Our nature and the essence of who we are can never ever be changed. Nothing you have ever done in your life has really changed who you are as God's highest creation, as the perfect creation of love. Nothing that you can ever do can change who you are. We share one life. We share one breath. We share one being. And this human life is no more than these individual expressions of the one being, the one self. Boy, if we can just grasp that concept, then we will begin to really know ourselves. We will begin to know our neighbor. We will begin to love ourselves and be able to love our neighbor as ourselves, because we would understand that all humanity is ourselves. And we would be able to lay down all of the labels and categories and the way that we have divided and subdivided and redivided ourselves to such a degree that we don't know who we are, and we don't know who our neighbor is, and certainly we don't know who God is and what love is. Because it's all the same. We don't understand that it's all the same, that what I do for my brother, I'm doing for myself. Jesus said it this way: as much as you've done it to the least of these, my brethren, you have done it to me. And he said it because he knew who he was. And he understands the oneness. He understands the he understands that the love that we share. He understands that we all have been crowned with glory and honor that comes from God only. It comes from the unseen. It came from before the world was formed. I knew thee. It comes from the fact that we are these infinite beings, meaning we have no beginning, we have no end. We always have been. We just are. We just is. I am, as the scripture says, that I am. You are that you are, and you can't change that. No matter how bad it looks in our current day, no matter how much hatred, vitriol, polarization, no matter how bad our politics look, no matter how bad it looks in terms of the lack of civility, no matter how bad it gets, no matter how much you may feel that you have been unfairly treated, no matter how corrupt and unlawful parts of humanity display and continue to promote division and exclusion, and how much it creates instability and fear and uncertainty in the world, no matter how bad it gets. When you know who you are, and when you realize that in reality there's nothing but love, you will be able to look on the things I just described and remind yourself that what you see is temporary. It's subject to change, and it's going to change. And ultimately, it is going to be the purposes of love or the purposes of God that shall prevail over time. It's going to be the purpose and the will of God only, the will of love that will eventually prevail in life. And when you understand that, then regardless of what the external looks like, regardless of how much oppression and suppression that we see, we will come to understand that in time, only the purpose of love shall prevail. Only the purpose of oneness, only the purposes of God shall prevail. Many other plans that are in a man's heart, but it's the purposes of God that shall prevail. Therein lies your peace. Therein lies your stability. Therein lies your trust. Therein lies your certainty. It's not going to come from anywhere else. It's not going to come from your politics. It's not going to come from business. It's not going to come from entertainment and arts and sports and science. It's not going to come from those places. The peace that you so desire, the correction that you love to see, is going to come from within. It's not going to come from without. Because the only reality is that reality that we are the perfect creation of love. Oh, yeah. So when we have this understanding, and then when we come from a place of love, then from that place of love, we get inspired. We get inspired to do certain things. And it's from that place of love that we get inspired to take certain action, to extend our love in a specific way. It has to come from inspiration. And it has to come from love. But when it comes from a place of separation and division, when it comes from a place of fear, when it comes from a place of anger and unforgiveness, it's only going to exacerbate the problem. It's only going to exacerbate the problem. So when we look out into our current 2023, 2025, February the 23rd, and where there is instability, fear, uncertainty around our world, in our politics, in our religion, in our arts, in our science, in our technology, in our entertainment, in our sports, everywhere, in our community, in our families, in your home, on your job. The solution is not external to us. The solution is in the heart of every human being. Until there's a change of heart, until there is a recognition of this self, this true self, until the identity crisis is solved once and for all, there is no peace. There is no stability. There will be no trust. There will be no certainty that we experience. But stability and trust and certainty is always present. Love is always present. Love is always shining. But it gets cloaked. It gets covered up. It gets, we place in between ourselves and others, in between ourselves and God, in between ourselves and peace. We place this substitute in between us. And it appears that love has evaded us. It appears that equality has abandoned us. It appears that inclusion has been substituted for exclusion. It appears that evil has triumphed over good. It gives the external appearance. And see, external appearance is only mirroring back to us what is in our heart. So what we see happening in today's world, what we see happening in every arena of life that is loveless, is just a reflection of the heart of humanity. And the correction has to take place in the heart of humanity. You know, the Course in Miracles says that enlightenment or the awakening is nothing more than a recognition. And that word recognition means to recognize again, to re-recognize, right? Because somewhere along the line, humanity has not recognized its true self. We lost our way. We detoured. The Course says we detoured into darkness. Jesus came and he saw the condition of humanity in his day and time. And he said that man has conditioned himself to the point where he loves darkness. And darkness really is no more than the absence of light. We was absent of light. In Jesus' day, humanity was absent of light. What is light? Light is who we are, right? Love is who we are. We're absent of love. Not that it's gone anywhere, but we had covered it up. We have forgotten who we were. And the only solution when you forget something, or if you don't recognize something, is to what? Is to remember or to re-recognize. That's what recognition is to re-recognize. So when Jesus said, a man must be born again in order for him to see the kingdom, he was saying you just need to re-recognize who you really are as the perfect creation of love. Just need to re-recognize. You just need to but remember who you are as God's highest creation. That is the solution to the dilemma that you see in our present day world. That is the solution to the relationship issue that you may be having. It is the solution to your business if it seems to be going sideways. It is the solution to the business community that has allowed itself to forget that there is no success for the business if there's no honoring of those that support the business, if there's no honoring of those who employ and labor in the business. In the governments, our governments, and the governments around the world, where there is a dialect of duty, where there is a situation where a leader is put into a place and he forgets who put him in the place and for what purpose. And it becomes just a grab and a situation where one forgets its purpose and begin to abuse the purpose, begin to oppress the people, begin to use their position to enrich themselves. They have forgotten who they are. And that will never solve a problem. That would only create more problems. That would only magnify the problem. And look, all you got to do is look through history. Look down through history. And what you see is time after time, repeating over and over and over again. where men and women in leadership allowed power to corrupt their thinking. And ultimately they end in ruin. Not alone ruining other people's lives, but end up in ruin, the person themselves. And many are so depraved in their thinking. Many have actually allowed their mind to kick against the prick, to the point where they drive the country or the community that they're leading into rubbles, into ruin. We see it right here presently, where we're now, it's to the point that where you have these kinds of this kind of leadership that has become so self-serving that they will completely destroy entire countries into rubbles, versus accepting the reality of the oneness that we share, versus allowing everyone to have equality and for everyone to participate equally, in order for everyone to benefit in the blessings and the richness of life. If they can't have it for themselves, they will destroy an entire country into ruin. We see it here in 2025. You look at some of these wars that are ongoing, where they have completely destroyed countries, cities, communities, innocent people. Instead of letting everybody participate equally and fairly, and everybody eats and everybody enjoy and everybody love. No, they're promoting specialness, and if they can't have it their way, they will tear the whole house down. Where is that coming from? That's coming from not knowing who you are. That's coming from resisting the truth that is true always. But if we're going to end all suffering, if humanity is going to end suffering, he's going to have to wake up. He's going to have to wake up. He's going to have to listen to his heart. He's going to have to listen to that internal teacher that is within all of us, that will never stop prodding, that will never stop speaking to us in that still small voice, to bring us to a place of awakening, of enlightenment, to bring us to a place of remembering, to bring us to a place of recognizing who we are as the perfect creation of love. There's no other solution, man. There's going to be no other solution. Jesus brought us that same resolution. He brought us that same answer. He saved us from our own self by bringing us the truth that is eternally true, and says, ye are gods. Ye are love. And you were created in love, and you remain as you were created. But we have fallen asleep by an idea, a tiny mad idea, that we're these separate individual cells, that we're separate from God and from each other. And then we've created a new mind, or an alternative mind other than the mind of Christ. We have moved away from God consciousness, from Christ consciousness, to a fear-based consciousness that creates class and differences. We think that we have come up with a better idea than truth. and and all we have to do is look at our history and see that men have tried and tried all through history to create something or to make up something that it would be better, right, than that which is principle centered in love. And we see the mess that has been made. But all through our history, there has been this voice, there has been this impulse, there has been this inner knowing, or this inner teacher, or this inner God within all of us. Prompting us to wake up to the truth. Prompting us to consider our ways, that they're only leading to destruction. But that there's a way that seemeth right to humanity, but it only leads to destruction. And that way that seemed right to humanity is this way that has its source in the belief in separation, in the belief in division, in the belief in specialness. That some are special than others. That there's a difference. That love makes a difference. There is no difference in love. Love is all encompassing. There's only equality in love. There's only inclusion in love. And love's expression is diversity. It is these different expressions of the one love, because love is so dynamic. It's like a diamond. It has many facets. It has many expressions. You are one of those expressions. All humanity are one of those expressions. None is special or more of value than another. When you look at a diamond, and depending on where you look at it, there's a different beauty in the diamond. So love is in all of humanity. When you look at the diversity of the human form, the value is not in the form. The person is not the form, but the value in the reality is that which you can't see is eternal, and that what you're really looking at is God. What you're looking at is love. What you're looking at is light, and light has so many facets. If you ever notice that when you look up at the sun on a sunny day, then you see these beams that extend from the one source, the different beams, the light beams, the sun beams, right? None of the beams are identical. They're all different. But what's common in all of them is that they have one source. What is common in all of them is that they all emanate from the one source. When you go to the ocean and you observe the waves as they come into shore, every wave is different. Every wave has its own dance, has its own delight, has its own expression. You can't find two waves just the same that comes ashore. But within each wave is the same essence, the same quality. You can find the same quality that is in one wave is in the depth of the ocean. And what is imminent, what is evident, and what is uh, what is assured is that each wave will what? Retrieve back into the ocean. The wave was just a temporary expression. The sunbeam is just a temporary expression of the one source, the one ocean, and the one sun. Likewise, our human experience is just a temporary expression of the one love that we all share. Our individuated expression in form. It's just a it's just a temporary expression of the one love, the perfect love, the whole complete love that encompasses all of us. And when we try to break that up into pieces, when we try to break that up into and divide and subdivide that into another idea of separation and individuality, and layer over that specialness, and to lay specialness over top of that, and add ideas like superiority. One expression is superior to the other, and when one embraces an idea that they're inferior to another. Do you know what we're doing? Do you know the pain and suffering that will bring about in one's experience? It doesn't change now. It doesn't change who we are, but it brings about an experience that is antithetical to peace and joy and love and fulfillment and happiness. It brings about an experience where the very resources we've been given, called Earth, is abused. It brings about the emotional sensation of fear, the vibration of anxiety. It brings about this uncertainty, fear, and instability in our experience. And that's what you see happening in our present day world. Not only here in these United States that don't appear to be so united at this point, but this is what you're seeing around the world. It's not subject to one place. No, wherever humanity is, wherever the heart is, like Jesus said, wherever your heart is, there is your treasure. And when we choose to focus our attention, when we choose to focus our energy, when we choose to focus our ideas on a belief in separation and division, we have just given the love that we are a detour into fear. And we dream the dream of separation. We have the nightmare of destruction, poverty, sickness, death, oppression, all of the things that you see. And that's the perfect environment for deception to rise up and say, I have the answer for you. That's the perfect example for deception, the spirit of deception to rise up, like Jesus said, in the last day. In the last day, men would be lovers of themselves in the wrong way, and not lovers of, because to love yourself is to love all humanity. That is true love. To love yourself is to see the mind, is to see the face of Christ in all humanity. To love yourself is where we create the environment where all of us sit around the table of love and we have a big feast. No one is excluded. No one is looked down on. No one is superior to the other. No one is inferior to the other. There is no such thing as privilege. No. Everyone eats. In some cultures, in some cultures, like where there's like in some cultures, they've kind of got this. It's just a part of their, it's a part of their DNA, I guess you could say. In some cultures, in some communities. In some communities, like when the family comes together, because inside any family, there's, those that contribute to the cause, and then there's those that never contribute to the cause. There's those that promote growth and prosperity in communities, and there's those that don't contribute so much, and that's okay. But in some cultures, like when they have family reunions, like when the families come together, it doesn't matter what your plight has been. It doesn't matter that you have kind of robbed the family. It doesn't matter that you, whatever, right? You fell on hard times, or you hadn't been the best citizen in the family. You hadn't been the best representation. But in those cultures, when the family comes together for a family feast, for a family reunion, I guess you might say, they're going to make sure that what? Everybody eats. Everybody enjoyed the feast. They are able to lay down. They are able to lay down. They are able to forgive. They are able to let go of someone that may have been still in a crisis or been challenged. But everybody comes together and eats. There's no one left out. There's no exclusion. You are part of this family. Come on, we gonna love you. But there are some cultures where when the families come together, some are disinvited. Some can't sit with each other because the fussing and the fighting and the division is being made a priority over the love. Our indifferences have been made a priority over the love. And they can't sit down and love, have a love feast together. And that's what you see happening in our nation. That's what you see happening around the world. Where there's this resistance. Humanity is resistant in his heart. He's resistant. She's resistant. The truth that is true always. They're resisting their very own happiness. They are resisting their very own prosperity, their very own true prosperity, and their very own peace. By saying, no, this is a better way. Division and separation and indifferences and superiority, inferiority is better. We'll get better results. And it'll never work. That's the blind leading the blind down the proverbial ditch. All right, that's about enough of what I'm going to address as far as, what may be happening. I hope that helps. You might be asking, well, what do I do, Oliver? Like I said, the first thing we do is to remind ourselves who we are. The first thing we do is remind ourselves that we're the perfect creation of love, and so is everyone. It's just that everyone doesn't know that. Everyone doesn't know that. Hosea, in the book of Hosea, God spoke to Hosea and said, my people are destroyed because of lack of knowledge, a lack of knowing. That word knowing has to do with an intimate, having an intimate awareness, having an intimate acquaintance with the self. When you intimately know yourself as love, that's knowing. See, knowing is the ultimate goal. It goes beyond believing. It goes beyond hoping. It goes beyond faith. When you know something, you know that you know. That is the goal of our human experience, to come to know ourselves. Paul said in one of his dissertations that he said that I may know him. He's referring to the Christ. But what Paul didn't know is that he was the Christ too. He was talking about himself, that he would come to know himself as the Christ. And until humanity comes to know themselves as the Christ, remember Jesus said, ye are gods, ye are one. And what that means is we are all one. We all share the one life, the one being. And until you come to know that, we are in an upside down orientation. We'll begin to try to make a substitute for that, only to enter into pain and suffering. So the first thing you do is remind yourself of who you are, and that you remain as love created you, as this whole and complete. Whole, that's what the word holiness means. It means that you are holy. That means you are whole and you are complete. And you didn't make yourself that way. You were created that way. You are the extension of the very holiness that love is, that God is. You and God are one. When we see you, we see God. If we are, like he said, the pure in heart, as long as he said, the pure in heart shall see God in everyone. And we don't see God in everyone when we don't see God in ourselves. When we don't know that we are the perfect creation of love. So the first step is to know thyself. Because when you know yourself and you come from this place called love, when you come from this place called oneness, when you come from the place of unity, and not from a place of specialty, or specialness, or superiority, then you will only extend love in all that you do. You'll only extend love. You'll only extend equality. You'll only extend inclusion. You'll only extend the very diverse and unique expression that you are. And then I'm going to share with you something. I'm going to close out by sharing with you something here out of 1 John chapter 4. This is coming out of the Bible. 1 John chapter 4, verse 16 and 17, 18. I'm going to finish there. How about that? So if you want to reference where I'm reading from right now, it is 1 John chapter 4, verse 16, 17, and 18. I use my Bible today. I use many different resources when I teach and when I share these principles. I'm going to land this plane. I'm going to land it gently. I'm going to land it gently. So, verse 16. Verse 16, it says, and we have known, see, that knowing, and we have known. See, there was a time that we knew perfectly. There was a time that you knew perfectly. But to come and have this human experience, you had to forget everything. You didn't have to forget it, but to come from that which is not dense, that is totally free, that is totally formless and timeless, to come from that dimension into this dimension where everything is dense. Your body is dense, right? And to come into that, there had to be a letting go, a temporary letting go, or a temporary forgetfulness of what you were. We're going to talk about that down the road. That's going to be an interesting message. That in order for you to, like God said to Jeremiah, you was in your mother's womb. Before that, you existed, but the place that you existed, there was no time, there was no space, there was no form. But you existed. And now that we're here having the human experience, we are here but to remember. Like he says here, he says, and we have known and believed the love that God has to us. We have known that. We have known the love that we're talking about here, that perfect creation love. We have known that. There was a time that you knew that. Well, there was beyond time, before the foundation of the world. That was the only experience you knew. And now remembering, you're recognizing, you're re-recognizing the truth that is true always. So he says, and we have known and believed the love that God hath to us, or love has towards us. And it says, God is love. See there? God is love. Love is God. So whether I use the word love or God, I'm referring to the same one being. Don't allow words to keep you from understanding. So here it says God is love. And then Jesus says we are God. So that means that we are love. In the Course in Miracles, it says that we are the perfect creation of love. In all your spiritual books, if you would really delve into them, the central theme is love. But we don't understand it. And so he says, God is love, and he that dwelleth in love dwelleth in God, and God dwelleth in him. Why? Because they're all the same. When we dwell in the knowing of ourselves, which is love, we dwell in God, and God dwells in us. And there is no difference. There is no difference between God and you, because like Jesus said, when you have seen the Father, you have seen me. When you have seen me, you have seen the Father. I and you and me. We are one. This is the message that he came to share with us, to bring us out of our place of darkness. But then in Hosea, it says that we perish or we suffer needlessly because of lack of knowledge. And in many cases, it's not that we don't have the knowledge, it's that we reject the knowledge. We reject the knowledge. When you hear messages like this that are spoken on this level of truth, a lot of times they are rejected because they go against our fear-based theology. They go against our religion. It can't really be like that. I can't be that. I mean, that's not who I am. Only God is God. I'm just a sinner saved by grace, and on and on and on. All the conditioning that we got over the years with well-meaning men and women that was teaching us from a place of separation. And you can never teach the truth from a place of separation. You can only teach the truth from a place of love. You are not a sinner saved by grace. You are the perfect creation of love, period. I know that goes crosswise to a lot of people's thinking, but hey, a lot of things Jesus said, guess what? It shocked them out of their socks. That's blasphemy. You remember they told Jesus, that's blasphemy. You can't say that. Only God can say that. Who can forgive man? Only God can forgive man. That's so, when you think about it, that's so stupid. That's the problem. Notice, we won't forgive. So everybody can't eat. We would rather burn the place down. Some countries, they would burn the cities and the place down to the ground. They would blow it up, bomb it up, instead of coming together and allowing everyone to eat. Instead of forgiving and loving one another. That's so stupid. So stupid. And they call themselves leaders. But even more stupid is we'll follow these leaders that will tear the house down before they allow equality to reign, before they will allow their special interests not to be served. They will burn the whole place down. But I don't see, that's why I say I don't like to share these things, right? Because I don't want people to think wrongly. But that can't happen without our permission, without our giving over our credence, giving over our power to that madness. So, God is love. And so if God is love, you have to be love. Because he that dwelleth in God dwelleth in love. Or he that was created by God is created in love. Because love can only create like itself. And in verse 17, it says, herein, in the fact that God is love. And love dwelleth in all that God creates. And God created you. He said, herein is love made perfect. Or herein is the perfect creation of love, or the perfect experience of love. He said, in this is love made or experienced in a perfect way. So that we may have boldness in the day of judgment. When is the day of judgment? The day of judgment is right now. And are we judging ourselves according to love, or are we judging ourselves according to the belief in separation? Are we judging ourselves according to love, or are we judging ourselves according to fear? He said that we may have boldness in the day of judgment. The day of judgment is now. The judgment day, God has already judged us in creation. And he said that we are the perfect creation of love. There's no more judgment to come. Love doesn't judge. Love is. So if you are holding in your mind that there's some fearful day of judgment coming before you, you can let that go. That's only creating fear in you. It's not true. You were judged the day that God extended his self and called himself you. That's the judgment, and the only judgment that there has ever been and that will ever be. And he said that in this day right now, that you can have boldness, because as he is, so are we in this world. It's right there. As love is, as God is, so are we in this world right now. That's why we can have boldness. That's why I can boldly sit here and say, I am the perfect creation of love. I can boldly sit here and say, you are the perfect creation of love. I can boldly sit here and say that to know thyself is the first order of business, because it is in the knowing of the self that we can have boldness in the face of all of what appears to be unloving, in the face of all that appears to be ungodly, in the face of all that appears to be promoting separation and specialness and superiority and inferiority and all the other ugliness that we see happening. It's temporary. It's going to change. So we can have boldness in this time, in the face of anything that you see. Boldness to stand as the light of the world and say that we are one. Just because there are these that have taken on and made a image of themselves and an image of God that is punitive and that promotes inequality and excludes and demeans and threatens and do all of those things and lie and cheat and steal and only because they want to feed their own interests. It said in that moment you can have boldness. You don't shrink. You don't come to a place where you say, oh, what are we going to do? We're hopeless. We're doomed. Blah, blah, blah. You know, all the stuff that you're hearing. No. You have boldness. And any action that you take is inspired. So sometimes you just have to let what? You have to let that run its course. Because the correction has to happen in the heart of men. So you don't pick up sticks and stones and start throwing, and you may just need to sit home and let them come to themselves, like the prodigal son had to come to himself. And it says that you may have boldness in the day of judgment, because as he is, so are we in this world. So you are in this world just as love is and as love always been. And not only you, but everyone. And then it says, there is no fear in love, but perfect love casteth out fear, because fear has torment, and he that feareth is not made perfect in love. So there you have it right there. What do I do? That's what you do. You allow love to have its perfect work in you. You allow yourself to accept the reality that as God is, as love is, so are you in this world right now in 2025, February 23rd. I'm going to have to stop right there, because if I don't stop, I won't be able to do with this video lesson that I just made what I want to do with it, and that is to share it around the world. So I'm going to stop right there for the sake of time. I know I've said a lot. Thank you so much for being with me. If you enjoy this, there's more where this come from. And I invite you to come and join me anytime that I'm live. Have a great day. Selah. Peace. Bye-bye.